And I remember one Sunday Dr. Gray saying a plane had crashed, and of course the congregation had kind of this kind of question. And Dr. Gray explained to us, First Baptist Church in New Orleans, and he explained to us that, well, it was God was punishing all those wicked people on the plane, and that's the way, how God took their lives that way. And, well,
that would make you want to be good, wouldn't it?
What worried me, though, it didn't, is because I had heard about it, too, and there were some children, little infants on board the plane, and that was, actually, it was like 2 weeks away from my last week in church, as it turned out. I mean, I was so extremely involved in the church, but I just, that answer didn't sit with me, plus another answer I got the next week. But nevertheless, I couldn't figure how a little child could be so evil so fast that the God of love would do that to that little thing to punish it. And now to follow up where I'm headed with this is, for those who listen to these tapes later, tell me about the infant on board that plane who this was the next consequential step in that child's development or progression.
We will come right back to that specific question, but you have set something else in motion that we want to address first, and that is the God that you described there, that so many have come to believe exists, that vengeful, punishing God, does not and never has existed. Does not now and never has. It is man's delusion in man's attempt to control man. In other words, when you want someone to behave and follow your rules, and they won't, and it's very important to you that they do, because you can't feel good in watching them if they're not doing what you need them to do, then you go to great extremes in trying to control their behavior with a well-meaning intent because you want to feel good. In other words, most people are offering a very conditional love. I want to feel good, and as I see you doing these things, I don't feel good. And since I don't know anything about law of attraction or setting my own tone, I need you to change your behavior so that I can observe you and then feel good. That's sort of what is at the basis of that. Now, as you talked about what kind of God would do such an awful thing, this is what we're getting at here. That is a very important question.
It was the word of love is the word I put in there. God of love.
What kind of God of love or anything would do such a terrible thing? And this is where we want to help you to find a different way of looking at this. You have to understand that it is not a terrible thing that is being done. And if you understood what is happening in the death process, that would match with your idea of a God of love. You see what we're getting at? In other words, if you could understand that there is no suffering for any of you to endure, but when you assign it to yourself and disallow the well-being to flow, even in that misunderstanding, you usually manage to orchestrate something that gets you out of the torment that is self-created. Now some would say, so Abraham, are you saying that dying is the gift of love that God gives? We say, all the time. And when you die, you'll get that. In other words, now we don't want anyone jumping on tall buildings today, but when you make your transition, then you will remember, oh yeah, I remember. Not only is it no big thing, it is a delicious, wonderful reemergence back into the energy of well-being. The only discomfort that ever exists is in the physical realm by a physical human who has found a way to disallow source. That's where the discomfort is, you see.
This is the end of Side 80. Please turn this recording over and continue with the message.